you ready?
Yes.
Oh. Hey guys.
Oh my.
Wait, sorry. Hey guys, welcome back to the Black Sheep podcast. Do we usually say podcast?
No, we don't. We usually just say welcome to the Black Sheep.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Black Sheep.
Let's go.
We're back.
It's been a week.
We're feeling great today.
Yeah, feeling
so
amazing.
It's beautiful outside. The sun is shining. Birds are chirping.
Got a lot of energy.
We live in, what's like the sunniest state? Florida. They get a lot of rain too, I think. No?
They get a lot of storms and hurricanes.
Oh yeah, they do.
So maybe like California.
Yeah, I guess that's the second one.
What's the first one? Florida?
Florida. Didn't they call Florida the Sunshine State, literally?
Oh, maybe. I don't know.
Anyways, I'm kidding, 100%. It is horrible outside. It's gloomy. We feel like shit. It's rainy. Our moods are completely down today. So good thing we don't have to talk about ourselves and our lives.
Yeah.
We're talking about someone else's life today.
Yeah, so as you guys saw, we rolled in that creepy intro because it's the fourth episode of the month, or the fourth episode of our schedule, and today is going to be a creepy episode or whatever, but this time we're covering a true crime case.
Mm-hmm. Super interesting.
Very interesting. And Melissa actually came up with the idea to talk about this because she saw like a... she's chewing on your underwear.
Oh my God, no.
Or something.
Harley! No. Hey, I'm watching you. It's clean, okay, guys? You made it sound disgusting.
Well,
these are new clothes. They're just chilling there.
Mm-hmm. New clothes that are just chilling in a pile. That seems really
because I took all the tags off and I just left them there. Anyways, so you can't do it?
My ears hurt.
Oh my God, they're all red. So, if you guys have realized, my brother just usually doesn't wear the headphones
recently
in these last few podcasts because since he got his ears pierced, they just feel uncomfortable when he has them on. So, I don't know how long it's gonna take for them to heal. It's been a while, and I'm still the only one who has to listen, make sure the audio sounds good.
They're healed, I think. I put new ones in. There used to be hoops, and so I put new ones in, so they're healed and stuff. Sort of. They just still get irritated when there's pressure on them.
Maybe your headphones. You're not. The bottom part is not supposed to be on your earlobe. It's supposed to be under your earlobe.
What do you mean under? Ears fully inside.
And
this
your ears
thing?
are smaller than mine, so it should work.
I guess that feels.
Is that better?
Yeah, that feels a little bit better.
Well, you don't have to worry if you don't want to, but just giving you some tips and tricks.
Then the headphones look weird. You know what, Liza?
Okay, anyways. So today, we're doing a true crime case, and like my brother said, I didn't know anything about this case. Have you ever heard of it before?
I haven't, no.
It's such a huge, thing, and I'm so surprised that I've literally never heard it. In all of my years watching true crime documentaries and stories, I'd never heard this case be covered.
I feel like there's a lot of cases like that though. They're really, really interesting, and we just don't know about them until they make something that's a famous show or something. But I feel like there's a lot of podcasts that cover true crime cases, and that shit is crazy, and we just don't know about it.
Right. There's so many stories out there.
Yeah, and it's so weird that we just don't know about the crazy shit that people are these psychopaths are fucking doing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really I don't really watch the news. Do you watch the news?
No.
Where do you get your current events from, I guess?
I think
Facebook? Just kidding.
Hell no. Facebook.
I love it when people say that. They're I get it from Facebook. Duh. Where else would you get it from?
Where'd you get that information?
Accurate, 100%.
Facebook. Obviously. Facebook news. I think either I follow some news pages on YouTube. I follow Now This or whatever it's called. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, I don't think I've ever seen that now.
It's called Now This, and they post current events that are happening. They post Astroworld, and they post stuff about Joe Biden and Donald Trump when there was an election and stuff.
Right.
So there's that, and then also just I guess just kind of like a little bit of Instagram, honestly.
Or my parents, maybe.
My parents.
They tell you about shit.
Twitter. Twitter. A lot of stuff gets posted on Twitter.
Yeah, that's true. All right, so I heard about this case.
Wait.
What?
Weekly check-in.
Oh, weekly check-in.
How's your week been, bro?
I'm trying to think. Today is Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
My week's been good. Last week and like the weekend was like super busy for me, and I was like really stressed out. Like, I'm a bitch when I'm stressed out, dude. Have you ever seen me like super stressed out?
Yeah, every single day that I come over here, you're a fucking bitch.
That's not true. I don't stress about this that much.
Why? Like, what are you talking about?
Like, I had like multiple videos to film, like sponsored videos that I needed to like turn in, and like I just like, if anyone tries to like talk to me or like wants to hang out or like do anything when I'm busy, like it's just not like a good time at all. Like, I don't know, like it's just like I don't know, it's really bad.
Oh my god.
Because I just can't like focus on like relaxing or anything, because I'm just constantly thinking like, oh my god, this needs to get done, so I'm just like in a shitty mood because I know that I can't fucking relax and do fun shit. But once Monday hit, I was like, okay, now I can relax because I turned everything in. So this week's been pretty chill, just, you know, doing things like around the house and running errands, and yeah, basically.
That's good.
How about you?
I've been trying to like, I don't know, like find a balance between like editing these videos and like going to work, and then also like hanging out with like friends and stuff.
It's a lot.
It gets like literally.
Welcome to adult life.
I fucking hate it.
It really sucks, which is why I like scheduling. Like, I have a planner and I like schedule everything, even like hanging out with friends. I schedule it, and
yeah,
I'm weird, but like it helps a lot.
The person that I hang out with has a planner, and they like do that too. Like
they're like, you want to hang out that day? Let's see if I can today.
Yeah, it's like a whole ass like secretary or something.
Yeah.
But it's just like literally like I like get home from work, I come home and change, and then I just leave and then go hang out with like somebody. Like and then when I'm not hanging out with somebody, I'm just editing videos, and then when I'm not editing videos, like I'm hanging out with a friend or something. Just because like I don't know, I don't want to be alone.
You don't like doing things yourself, like by yourself?
No.
Or being alone?
No. But it's just kind of felt like a little.
Yeah, it gets hard to like balance everything.
Yeah.
And it just gets like really stressful and stuff, but
it's okay, because like it's not like I'm miserable or something. Like, I'm actually like having fun while I'm doing whatever I'm doing. So
that's
chilling.
Good. Yeah, like it's hard for me too to like balance everything together. So usually like I'm on top of like work related things, and then like when I feel like I can catch a break from that, or I don't have anything like, you know, specifically that I need to do, then I'll like focus on like hanging out with friends or like cleaning up and doing everything else that I need to do.
Right.
But it's like I always find it hard to do everything at once. You know how people like just, there's people that fit in everything that they need to like in their day.
Right, I know.
And it's crazy. Like, they go to work, they go to the gym, they cook and make good meals for themselves. Yeah. They take their dog on a walk. They hang out with their significant other, and like I'm just like, how the fuck?
I've been thinking about that too, because like I'm just like, I don't like doing stuff that I don't like not having like, you know, time to yourself for a little bit.
Yeah, me neither.
So like it's like that's basically everything that you're doing like turns into work almost. It's like even hanging out with a friend.
Like, everything's a chore. Like, God, I have to do this now.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I just want to sit down by myself and relax sometimes.
Right. So like you can't. I feel like, well, I don't know. Like, those people just have, I guess, like a really strong like mindset or something, or just a strong will and determination.
Or they just don't have depression.
Oh yeah, I guess that's true.
Like, they're just super motivated all the time.
Right. And so like I can't do that. Like, I feel like everything just kind of turns into like I have to do this now. Even if it's something fun that I want to do. But it's like I can't, because I'm still thinking about this other thing that I need to do when I get back.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I hate that shit.
It's like when you're like, when you have an assignment due, and then you're like watching Netflix, and you're like, okay, I'll start at this time. And then the time comes by. Or no, you're like, You never did that in school? Like, I was like, I'm going to start at 3 o'clock.
Yeah, like your homework?
I start doing homework. And then let's do like 3:01. I'm like, oh, I missed it. I got to go to 4 now.
Yeah, or you're like, 3:30.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh, this episode's not over, so I'll just go till it's over. Like 4 o'clock. And then, yeah.
And then I'm like, oh, this episode just got really good. Let me just watch one more episode.
You just keep procrastinating because you don't want to do it.
But even then, like, I'm not enjoying the show because I'm stressed about the thing that I'm doing. So, like, I'm just watching Netflix and then not doing homework. And then I'm like, fuck.
Just watching clock.
Watching Netflix stressfully now. So, but that hasn't happened in a while, but that used to happen a lot.
Yeah. Anyways, so that's basically it.
Yeah.
For our weeks.
Kind of tired.
My brother comes over today. He's like, how are you feeling today? And I'm like, I kind of don't want to do anything at all. And he's like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
I kind of wasn't expecting you to say that. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, I feel dead today. So I was expecting you to, like, you know, be a little bit more amped up.
Yeah. I was like, someone's got to carry this episode.
I'm not either. But I will be carrying this episode because I was scrolling through Netflix and I actually came across this Netflix, what is their docuseries?
Yeah, so basically docu because it's an episode, so it's not like a documentary.
About this guy named Billy Milligan. And I watched the whole thing and I was like, oh my gosh, this is so fucking like interesting. Like, how I've never heard of it. So then I brought it up to my brother and I was like, I kind of want to do that for the 4th episode this month. So he was like, all right, you're going to do all the research. I'm just going to watch it and you're going to do all the notes and you're going to carry the whole episode. And I'm like, oh, shit. Okay.
Yes.
So
sounds good to me.
I have pages and pages, but
you write them down in your planner?
I knew you were going to fucking say something. Fuck you. I was trying to look for a notebook.
You didn't have a notepad.
I was trying to look for a notepad. Look. And I couldn't find one. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to have to do this.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Oh my god, no.
Sorry, guys. I'm making weird hand gestures because I'm weird. So where does this start off, Liza?
Okay, so basically, this starts off in Columbus, Ohio. In the mid-70s, okay? So...
It's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Half a century ago.
Like when my parents were born, basically.
Yeah, it was like...
They were born in the mid-70s.
That's wild.
I can't imagine, like, being, like, 30 years old in the mid-70s. Like, well, not 30, like 20. Like, those were your prime years, the 70s. That's kind of cool.
Think that would have been fun?
Yeah.
Oh, you think it's cool?
Yeah, I think it would have been fun to, like...
But you would be, like, 50 now.
Yeah, that's why I don't want to... I wouldn't have wanted to be alive back then. But then, in the future, people are going to look like that at us, and they're gonna be like, oh my god, you were born in the 1990s, you're old.
But what I was gonna say, like, relating to that is like I think we're like one of the worst generations.
Oh
like,
god.
Not like as
millennials?
Not like as a people.
Wait, we're not even millennials.
Whoa, we're not. I think we're like Gen Z or something.
Or Gen Z?
Yeah.
What's Gen X?
Gen X is like the new.
We're Gen Z. I thought my whole life that I was a millennial, but then I actually looked it up and it's like...
When does millennial ends? Like 1990?
24, 25? So they like cut off? Or
they end at what, like 1995 or something?
Yeah, somewhere around there.
No,
and I was like, damn it.
What I was going to say was like, we're kind of just like, I feel like it would be like the worst time to live because...
There was a lot going on.
Well, yeah, there's a lot going on, but I also mean just like, we're literally in a pandemic. Like, we know when we look back at like 1912 and like the Spanish flu was going on, like, oh, I can't imagine living during that time period because it's like there's a whole ass people are dying and shit, and it's like we're going through it now. So I feel like this is gonna be, I mean, it sucks. It kind of sucks. Like, we have to like live through that.
Yeah, our grandkids are gonna look back on like photos and videos where we're wearing like face masks and like, oh my god, you guys like wore those everywhere.
Yeah, I know, it's gonna be wild.
Weirdos. Oh my god, battery's already dying.
Well, I don't know about oh my god, but your dog is like chewing something.
You don't know about oh my god?
Yeah.
What does that have to do with anything?
I don't know about oh my god, but your dog is
oh my god,
whatever she's chewing is in pieces.
Okay, hold on guys, we need to take a little break. Yellow, green, blue,
What the hell is that?
I don't know.
What? You know, like on Sesame Street or something?
Ew.
No,
Okay.
I was gonna say.
I don't know why I said
Let
ew.
me interrupt real quick. Yeah, what the heck?
I don't know. Go ahead.
Oscar the Grouch, like, is ill or something.
Yeah.
I started watching the show Made. If you guys haven't seen the show Made on Netflix, because you told me to watch it a while ago.
Yes.
And I was like,
oh my god, you started watching it?
Yeah,
oh
I started watching it. I think I'm on like the last episode now.
Wow. You liked it?
Yeah, I liked it. But like, dude, like, that show is like wild, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's fucking wild. Like the shit that she goes through, bro.
Yeah, dude.
I was
you
like,
think about it and you're like, and I think I have a shitty,
I know,
horrible
bro.
life.
I was like, oh,
It really puts
like,
shit like into perspective. That's why I love that show.
It really does. But like, I was a little bit high while watching the show.
Oh, so you weren't paying fully attention.
I was paying attention, but like, no, what I mean was like everything was just hitting me so hard because I was like kind of gone.
Oh,
and so when I was
like,
watching
oh my god,
it,
this is so deep.
Yeah, and I was like every time that like something like little like happened to her, I was like, oh my god, like I was like stressing so hard, dude. Like I don't know, I felt like my life was like her life.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah,
my god,
there's so much that happes to her. It's fucking crazy. Yeah. You're just like, oh my god, literally nothing could go like worse for her.
Bro, I fucking hate that show. But I love it. It's so good. So if you guys haven't seen it, check out Made on Netflix.
The ending is really nice though.
Oh, is it? So it's just a 1-season show? It's not going to be part 2?
I don't know. I don't know if there's going to be more to it, but...
I swear, I'm on like... How many episodes are like 10?
I don't know. I forgot.
Well, I'm on like the one before the last one, and like everything kind of looks like shit right now.
Oh, yeah. It gets resolved.
Okay. Anyways, let's
Anyways,
can we start this episode?
Columbus, Ohio. Mid-70s.
Mm-hmm. So,
in the news... there was the rape of 3 women was on the news, and it was on Ohio State campus, like the university there.
Yes.
And it just basically starts off like basically telling you that Billy Milligan was this guy, this 23-year-old who had raped 3 women on Ohio State campus.
Right.
So he was known as like the campus rapist, right? Like on the news, basically, how they were showing him and stuff like that. Like
at the beginning, it was just like the girls had come out and said like they had been raped, right?
Yeah.
And so they like didn't have a face yet, but they just were like on the news like saying, oh, they were just calling him the campus rapist.
Yeah.
And they're like searching for who it could be.
Yeah.
And then they came to the conclusion that it was this guy named Billy Milligan.
So and then a 4th woman was actually raped. This was not on the campus. So, but in total, it was 4 women that were raped in the area. And so everyone on campus and just everyone in that area, was freaked out. Women especially, they were scared.
Yeah.
There's just this guy out on the loose that had been, holding women at gunpoint and raping them and robbing them.
And then I heard that there was volunteers that were men volunteered on the campus that would wait for women to finish their classes and walk them to their cars so that they felt
either
safer.
To their cars or to their dorms or to other classes.
So it was that serious. People were really afraid.
Yeah, people were scared. So if you wanted someone to walk you from places, there was volunteers that were helping out, which is great. So basically the way that he got caught was because he ended up leaving fingerprints in one of the cars that he raped a woman in. And then they took those fingerprints and they looked him up in the system or whatever, and they found that they belonged to Billy Milligan because they had record of him before because he had been arrested before for other crimes.
He'd been arrested multiple times, right?
Yeah, he had done time in the Ohio prison and the Ohio Youth Commission.
So what? I remember it was once when he was 19 years old when he went to jail, but then before that it was when he was 16 or 15 or something like that. Maybe even 14. Yeah,
somewhere around then. I think I also have that down, but I don't remember exactly what age. But we will get into that too.
But he was young.
Yeah. So they arrested him, and they actually found that he had the women's like driver's license and stuff. Basically, like he was like holding them, and they just said that it was probably like a trophy thing, you know, like how usually killers or murderers or whatever, they usually keep something that reminds them of that person or whatever,
like a strand of hair or something. Weird,
because I don't know why they do this. Fucking weird. But anyways,
so so he didn't kill anybody though, right? Or
no,
he did. Oh, okay.
Well, what do you mean at this time?
Yeah, at this time.
No,
like the girls that were just being raped.
Yeah, they were just being raped and robbed.
Okay.
So once, you know, people started finding out, they the people that knew him were actually like super shocked. They were like, there's no way that Billy is like going around and doing this. Like, this has to be the wrong person.
Yeah.
They just couldn't believe that someone like him could do something like that. And when they did arrest Billy and, you know, interviewed him and brought him in for questioning and stuff, he was super confused. He didn't know what was going on. He didn't know why he was being arrested. He didn't know why they were telling him all these things that supposedly he had done. He like looked genuinely confused and scared and shocked, and like he just was like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. I did not do that.
Yeah, I think one of the prosecutors was saying that, like, when they were interviewing him, like, through the glass or whatever, like, he just looked like a little boy, like a scared little boy.
Scared little boy, yeah.
It's like, okay.
So Judy Stevenson and Gary Schweikart. How do you say his last name? I remember, like, rewinding it multiple times because I was like, how the heck? I need to make sure I say this right.
I remember rewinding it.
Anyways, they were his public defenders. So Billy didn't have, obviously, like, money to go and get lawyers or whatever, so they were appointed to him.
What I don't get is, like, in the documentary or whatever, like, they talked about these public defenders, right? And they talked about them, like, as very, like, revered and, like, very, like, everyone knew that they, like, won
like,
all
well
the cases.
Respected.
Yeah, so it's like, I don't understand how they're, like, public defenders, but they're, like, so, like,
maybe they do
lawyers.
Like cases like this, which is how like people start to get to know like who they are and stuff.
I guess.
Because I mean, there's a lot of people that can't, you know, pay for defense attorneys and stuff like that, but they still have like super crazy cases. Oh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, they were well respected, like trusted attorneys. And this doctor, her name was Dr. Sheila Porter. She was a psychologist, and usually she was called, I think, like when like crazy things happened with certain like inmates or to like check up on like what was going on. And they had called her to the jail because I guess like while Billy was in there, like, you know, being held, he had like ripped the urinal off the wall. Yeah. And like broken it and had taken like a sliver of it and was basically like cutting his wrists
trying to kill himself,
trying to commit suicide. So they had called this psychiatrist over, and he was super scared. He was super confused. Just like from day to day, it seemed like he just did not know what they had talked about before, the days before, and like it just like he just seemed like I don't know, like he just
wasn't there.
Yeah.
For whatever he was doing.
And I remember them saying that he liked to like draw. So like anytime that he could get like a pencil or paper or something, like he would draw things. And he started drawing this one like rag doll that was like hanging by a noose. And they basically like, I think this was before he had like even attempted to slit his wrist or whatever, but they had taken all these like little things and basically thought like, okay, this guy might attempt suicide at some point, and they took that as like red flags because they were like, this like something is probably gonna happen.
I don't understand what the ragdoll thing though is. Like, why was that such a significant thing that he drew that?
Because it was like hanging.
Oh.
It was like a ragdoll that had like hung itself. So they were like, why would he be drawing something like that unless he's feeling, you know, some sort of way?
Okay.
So due to all these things and, you know, him being suicidal and just, not remember anything, saying that he didn't know what was going on and didn't remember anything that they were telling him. They felt that he was probably not capable enough to like participate in his own like self-defense. Like he just wasn't competent enough to stand trial. And to be like competent enough to stand trial, you have to like meet certain criteria.
Right.
So basically you have to understand the nature of the crime. You have to know the difference between right and wrong. And you have to like be able to cooperate with your attorney to like, you know, come to your defense and like defend yourself basically.
And he didn't meet that criteria.
Yeah, he didn't. So they talked to the judge. His name was J.C. Flowers. Like his first name was J.A.Y. So Judge Flowers, they talked to him into...
J.C.'s Flowers.
J.C. Flowers. Into having a psychological evaluation like done of Billy. Mm-hmm. And so they called this other doctor. She's also a psychologist, and her name was Dorothy Turner. So she went to go see Billy, and she spent time with him. Billy was given a physical. He was given physical and psychological tests. Mm-hmm. And when the results came back, they realized that the tests, like they revealed significant differences in his IQ, like on different days.
Right.
So basically the results went from intellectual functioning almost at a level of what was then called retardation to off the charts in terms of like genius level. So it was just crazy. Like whatever day he took tests on, like it was like a different person was taking each test.
Damn.
Like sometimes he just didn't seem smart at all, and sometimes like he seemed super intellectual. And then they also ran like brainwave tests on him. Mm-hmm. On an EEG machine. Is that what it's called?
I don't remember.
It's an EEG machine. But basically, we have like 3 different like brain waves throughout our lives. Mm-hmm. And it usually like varies depending on like your age.
Okay.
So they realized that Billy's brain wave showed that he was like much younger than his actual age when they took, you know, the brain wave tests on that day. That's what it ended up showing. So they started realizing that, like, you know, something interesting is going on here. Like, you know, the more they talked to Billy, the more that they realized that, like, you know, he had different personalities because his different personalities would like have different mannerisms. They would talk differently. They would walk differently. Yeah. Some had accents. Like it would just be like you were talking to a completely different person sometimes.
Right. I was gonna mention that because I think he had like a few accents, right?
Yeah,
he like talked like this accents. Guy who was like from Yugoslavia or something, and then he like talked
the English
accent guy.
And
I don't know. He was also like a little girl and like a little boy.
Yeah, just
it's wild.
So many different like things. So they realized that, and of course during this time like they recorded everything, right? You in the docu-series you see him like actually like switching on camera, and like they show like the dramatic switches. He would take a deep breath. Sometimes like his eyes would close or like roll back, or he would like blink multiple times, and then you would realize that like he'd just like start looking around and kind of be freaked out, like what's going on, like whoa, where am I right now, who are you, why are you asking me these questions? Like it was like weird. It's crazy.
There's also like there was one time where he like kind of, I think he like closed his eyes for a little bit, and then he like woke up and he's like, Billy's asleep or something like that.
Yeah.
It's like,
so, and obviously scary. Like, you know, they realized that these are different personalities because he wouldn't, you know, when they would ask him things like, okay, Billy, blah, blah, blah. He would say things like, I'm not Billy.
Right.
And he would, you know, say like, my name is so-and-so. And he would have like different names and different, you know, mannerisms and stuff that went with that specific personality.
Yeah.
So Billy's mom, she was also like interviewed in part of this docuseries, and she said that once when Billy was young, he asked her, like once he just like turned to her and asked her like, why are you calling me Billy? Like, why do you call me Billy?
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she's like, well, that's just the name I gave you at birth. And like just certain things that he would like, you know, do ever since he was super young, like a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And she said that she always said that there was like two Billys. Like she felt like there was two Billys. There was the Billy that did bad things and just acted in a, you know, bad kid way.
Right.
And then there was like the normal Billy that she knew that was super sweet and caring and loving. And so once they started doing all these tests and stuff, Dorothy Turner, the psychologist that was evaluating him, she thought that, you know, in her opinion, that he might have multiple personality disorder, which now is known as DID, which is dissociative identity disorder. But back then they called it multiple personality disorder. And, you know, once this started going around and they, you know, started mentioning this, the prosecutors were like, what the fuck? Like, they thought this was a joke. They were like, are you fucking serious? Like, this dude has multiple personalities. Like, obviously, you know, people started thinking that this was just something that he came up with to, like, as an excuse to try to
get away from jail time.
Yeah, like, not get any time for doing the horrible things that he had done.
Yeah, I think the prosecutor like mentioned like, well, I think there was a time when like, I don't know if it was like off the record or something, but it was a camera recording and like he was like talking to one of the psychiatrists. I don't know if it was like the famous girl who like wrote the book, but, like one of them, and he was like, well, listen, I don't care if Billy doesn't think he's Billy. Right. He's like, I don't care if Billy
he was talking to the other attorney.
Oh, he was talking to the other attorney?
Yeah, because he had two, right? He had Gary and then the girl.
Oh, the woman, yeah. He was talking to the woman. He was like, I don't care if Billy doesn't know that he's Billy or if Billy doesn't know that he did these things. Someone's going to have to pay for it either way, so I really don't care.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what personality did it. Yeah. He's going to go to jail.
It's like, they're all Billy. I was like,
ooh. Yeah. I was like, ooh, okay.
This man's getting spicy in here.
But, yeah, so then they contacted this doctor by the name of George Harding. He was this doctor who worked in this Harding health facility. I think it was called the Harding Hospital or Harding Mental Health Facility or something like that. So he also evaluated Billy. He, like I said, he worked at that mental health facility, and he believed that Billy did meet the requirements for insanity. And he asked Marlene Koken, which is a psychologist, to be Billy's psychotherapist. And none of these doctors that, you know, were evaluating Billy and working with him had ever diagnosed or treated that specific disorder.
Okay.
So they felt like they needed some sort of confirmation from someone who did have more of an idea, an experience with DID. Like they felt like they needed someone to tell them that so that they could be like, you know, 100% confirmed that that is what he had.
Right.
So they called Dr. Cornelia Wilbur, which was a psychiatrist. She was an expert, and she's the lady that you said that
wrote the book.
She was super famous, super rich, because she actually, she treated this one patient, which she called Sybil, or Sybil.
How do you spell it?
Sybil.
Oh, yeah, S-Y. It's such a weird thing. I don't know why she...
Yeah, I don't know if that was actually... I don't think they actually ever mentioned, like, their specific name, or if, you know, that was just the name that they used because they didn't want to put the name out there of, you know, that patient. But basically, they ended up making a movie and a book about this specific patient and their story and stuff. And so she became, like, this huge, you know, well-known doctor.
And was that, like, one of the first cases of, like... DID or something, or was it just because it was just really popular for some reason?
I think I don't know if that was maybe it was probably
one of the first.
I mean, DID has been known to like have been around since like the 1800s.
Right.
So like, but this is when, you know, when this book and movie came out of Sybil, it was when everybody kind of like the community and society was kind of like, oh my God, like this is actually like a thing. Like it was just super interesting, you know?
Right.
Because it wasn't obviously a well-known thing. Like lots of people at this time did not believe that this was an actual thing. So, and so when she treated this patient, Sybil, she was able to integrate their 16 personalities into one. So, you know, that's how she became like, you know, super successful and like this doctor that knew specifically how to treat this thing, this DID, basically. So lots of people were skeptical, like I said, especially the prosecutors. So they even allowed the prosecutors to spend time with Billy because they wanted them to see firsthand, like, you know, this is how he acts, bro. And the attorneys, Billy's attorneys, they said that all his like personalities and his mannerisms and the accents and everything that he was saying was just super consistent every time that he talked to them. Like you knew exactly who you were talking to because they acted the same every single time.
Yeah, and they would like ask him questions, right? Like the different personalities, they would ask them questions about the personality, and then they would answer, or he would answer like the same way. Yeah. So it was like they answered the questions that whatever they were asking him.
So once they allowed the prosecutors to spend time with Billy and, you know, talk to him and everything, it became like pretty convincing to them. Maybe not all of them, but there was one in particular that said that, you know, if Billy was faking it, it seemed to be a very, very good, you know, fake, like super good acting because it seemed real to him.
And this was not his attorney, right? It was like
it was one of the prosecutors.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So, Dr. Harding, the one that worked at the Harding mental health facility, he would be asked whether he thought that Billy at the time of committing the offenses knew right from wrong. And then he would report that to the court, and then the court would have to decide if they believed that he was legally insane at the time of the offenses. So that's basically, you know, what they were trying to get to. That was what was going to end up happening.
That was the plan.
Yeah, that was the plan. Dr. Harding agreed to take Billy in as a patient for 3 months to basically try to be, which, as they said, restored to competency before the trial. So Dr. Wilbur said that she would try to have all of Billy's personalities, which at this time they had come to the conclusion that there was 10, and that she would try to have them all fused together to become one in order for him to, you know, stand trial and go to the court hearing and be able to, you know, answer everything as Billy. So
that seems like
that was what they were trying to get to within these 3 months of, you know, evaluating him and working with him and everything to be able to get him prepared for the trial.
Right.
So yeah, it does seem
like how is that? How do you even do that?
I don't know. Like I don't know if that's actually even like
possible,
a real thing nowadays with DID. Like I don't think that doctors actually say like, to be able to cure you or whatever, this is what we're going to do. We're going to fuse all your personalities into one. Like, I'm not sure if that's how it works, but that's what was happening at this time. So, and you even see a clip in the docuseries where they just say that Dr. Wilbur was just very, like, dramatic in trying to, like, get his personalities to fuse together, and you see a clip of her basically like telling Billy like, okay, so Tommy and Alan, they're gonna fuse, okay, and they're gonna come together to make Tommy Allen. Do you understand? And he would be like, well, I don't think that would be possible. And she'd be like, why? And he'd be like, well, because I don't like a lot of the things that Alan likes.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, there's clips of Billy saying, like, I don't know how that would be possible to get, you know, all of the personalities to fuse into one. But he did say that he wanted to try and, like, you know, see how or if it would work.
Yeah, I think during that same interview, he was like, well, I'll try. And she's like, that's all we ask is that you try.
Yeah.
But that's wild.
Yeah, it's crazy. So they do talk a bit about Billy's personalities. We don't get to meet or see every single one, but there was, you know, he had men and female personalities. Some were as young as 3-4 years old. Many were like around his age group. Arthur, which is one that, you know, we see a lot in the docuseries, and he's the one that's in charge initially. He's the one who says that he controls who comes on and off, and, you know, who's able to talk. And he's the one that had the British accent, and he was described as, like, unemotional. Like, he was just very, like, straightforward, and, you know, he was just the one that was, like, in control, you know?
Right.
And then there was Reagan, which was described as angry, violent. He was the one that had the Yugoslavian accent. And then there was Tommy, which was said to be like an escape artist because he would be able to like get out of a straitjacket. He would be able to escape through locked doors. There was Christine, which was like a scared little girl. And at one point, Arthur, when, you know, he's being interviewed and stuff, which is one of Billy's personalities, told Dr. Wilbur that they had put Billy to sleep after he attempted to commit suicide when he was like 15 or 16 years old. Or 16, actually, sorry. And so before this time, like, they hadn't talked to Billy. Like, they had been, like, interviewing, obviously Billy, but, like, they were talking to all of these other personalities that came forward, you know?
So Billy hadn't been there for, like, that long.
Yeah.
Damn.
And so Dr. Wilbur decided that, obviously, she needed to talk to Billy. And so she convinced Arthur to let her talk to Billy to see, you know, what he was like, which, you know, his core personality, which is what they call it.
Okay.
So when they called Billy, and she was talking to him, he seemed super confused and scared, obviously, because, you know, if you don't know what's going on. It's basically like you just wake up and you're like in this interrogation room, and they're like evaluating you and asking you a bunch of questions and telling you that you've been asleep and that there was this other personality talking to them, and you're just like, what the hell? And supposedly, like, Billy had no idea that he even had multiple personality disorder. He had no idea that there was these other personalities that, you know, would take charge and come on the spot.
Yeah, I think at one point, like, he mentioned that, like, I think it was his own words that he was like, I just thought that everyone else was the same as me.
Yeah.
He was like, I just thought that everyone was like just experiencing, like, you know, coming back and then being like, oh, I don't really remember what I just did like a few minutes ago. Like,
he thought that when people switch like emotions, like going from happy to like angry, possibly, that he was like, oh, that's another like personality coming out in them.
But he didn't know what to call it. He was just like, I just thought I was normal.
Yeah. So she told him about, you know, the multiple personalities, and because he couldn't remember certain things that obviously they were telling him that he had done, he came to the conclusion that obviously, like, what these doctors are telling me, like, has to be true. Like, there obviously has to be, like, some other personalities then that are coming forward and controlling these aspects of my life that I just have no idea about.
Right.
And he asked them if, they could get the people out of him. Mm-hmm. So the Disassociation Defense is basically like an altered state of consciousness. And it occurs because the individual experiences terrible trauma that's unbearable to think about, usually, in childhood years.
Early childhood, yeah.
Yeah. So DID comes from, like, childhood trauma. So they decided to bring in his family and just get to see, what his family life was like, what his childhood was like, and just interview them and ask them questions and try to get more of an idea of where Billy came from.
Right. Because, like, when I was watching this documentary, like, all I was thinking about was, like, the movie Split. Were you thinking about that movie when you were watching it?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so if he really does have, like, dissociative identity, because, like, at the beginning I was, like, really skeptical, and I was like, this guy's just, like, some white guy pleading. And
we're not saying that the movie Split is an accurate representation of DID because obviously it's very dramatized and it's a very controversial movie. But anyways, continue.
But, like, what I was saying was that, like, he went through, in the movie Split, the guy went through some trauma when he was younger, right? So that's why he has, like, he split into all these, like, different personalities, whatever. And so, like, the whole time I was thinking up to, like, I don't know, it was, like, the second episode or something, they actually talked about, like, what he went through as a child and, like, what his childhood was like. And I was like, okay, well, that's pretty wild. Like, that's pretty traumatic. So
yeah, we'll get into that right now.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. Like, that's some crazy stuff.
Felt horrible.
Yeah.
But so we're gonna get into Billy's childhood and what we learned about that. So he had an older brother whose name was Jim. He was born in 1953, and then Billy was born Valentine's Day 1955. And when he was about 1 month old, he stopped breathing.
1955, that's when the television came out.
Is it?
Yeah.
How the fuck do you just know that random fact, you weirdo?
The more you know.
Oh my god, it's so dark in here.
Dude, I'm telling you, it's so bright.
I just hit the mic, sorry. No, it's not bright.
Like, bro, look at how bright it is in here.
So they took him to the hospital, right, because he had stopped breathing. And they found out that he had a growth, like, in his throat. And one of the interns that was there at the hospital even had told Billy's mom that, there's nothing they could do, that Billy was already dead.
Yeah.
And she was like, hell no, he's not. Like, she went hysterical. She started yelling, and she was like, something is going to get done. You have to bring,
fix it.
Yeah, like, this is not happening. You're bringing my son back to me. And, like, he, somehow he was revived. And then later on, his sister was born in 1956. Their father dealt with depression, and his sister even thinks that maybe he might have had schizophrenia. He had a gambling habit, drinking habits. He did drugs. He was very jealous of their mother talking to anyone, any guy, anything like that. And their mother was super beautiful. She was, like, super nice, very outgoing, very friendly. And
she had, like, a lot of talents, huh?
Yeah, she sang. She was just a very, like, lively person,
She, like, went to, like, clubs and, like, had, like, her own gigs of, like, singing, and she, like, would go out and, stuff, like, pursue, like, her, like, dreams and stuff. So it was, like, girl boss.
Yeah, so he started beating their mother, and she basically, like, had enough of it and ended up, like, kicking him out, and they just separated, and later on their father ended up committing suicide. Billy, he was a very, like, he liked keeping to himself. He didn't really like playing in large groups of kids. He didn't really have many friends. He was kind of lonely. He just wasn't as outgoing as, you know, his brother and his sister were.
He's a bit of an outcast.
Yeah. But he was pretty close to his sister Kathy growing up. They played a lot all the time, and I think it's because they were closer in age than, you know, the little sister was to the older brother. So I think they got along super well. After a while, they ended up moving back to Ohio, and their mother just, you know, she just wasn't financially stable, I guess, enough to be able to support for herself and 3 children on her own. You know, she was a single mom, and when she moved back to Ohio, she ended up rekindling with an ex, and his name was Dick Jonas. He took her and her 3 children in. This was in the 60s. It was hard for her to provide for them. And
was this the guy that had a daughter?
Yeah. And
oh, I didn't know that they were exes.
Wait, no, this is not him. Wait, no, he's not. He did not have a daughter.
Oh, is this a different guy?
Yeah. So previously, before she got with their father, she had been dating this guy. Like I said, his name is Dick. He was her ex. And she had ended up splitting up and leaving him because he was an alcoholic, and she just, you know, she just didn't see it working out with him, and she wanted to pursue her dream of, like, singing and stuff, so she ended up leaving him and, like, doing her own thing.
Right.
So they got back together, and her and Dick ended up getting married. Dick was a truck driver. Like I said, he was an alcoholic. Their marriage just ended up going south pretty quickly. So they ended up leaving, and she took a job at DuPont factory. And then she'd do her little side hustle of singing. She sung at a Clock restaurant and other nightclubs in Columbus. And that's when later on she met a guy by the name of Chalmer. So Chalmer was the guy that had
such a weird name, though. And, like, what's his daughter's name? Isn't, like, his daughter named after him? Like Chalma or something. Bro, I swear that was her name.
I don't think I wrote down her name, but I do remember it being something like that.
So what kind of fucking name is that?
It was an interesting name.
What the fuck?
But he did have a daughter, and the daughter was around, like, the same age that Billy was. So they ended up getting married, and they adopted...
Billy and the daughter?
No.
Just kidding.
God. So they got married, and they adopted each other's kids. So that was their father now, I guess. And
stepfather.
Yeah, and then the mother obviously also adopted his daughter. So they were just this family, and they became the Milligan family.
The Milligans. We're the Milligans.
We're the Milligans. We're the Milligans.
Please stop.
Okay. So he became very controlling very quickly. He started beating the mother in front of the kids. They would see this happening. It went from slapping to punching to dragging her by her hair. And then pretty quickly after that, he started beating and punching Jim and Billy. And he wouldn't do this, like, in the house. He would actually... They had a garage that was, like, separate in the back of the house. And there was, like, a room in there where he would put a phone book or something thick, like, either on their chest or the side of their head. And he would just, like, punch, like, the crap out of it as hard as he could. And obviously, like... I'm sure that he was, you know, doing this so that way there was no mark left on the kids, because obviously when you're doing it that way, you're not leaving any like bruising marks. There's no blood. There's nothing like that. So, but it still hurt, obviously, a lot.
Of course, yeah.
Took their breath out. Like, that's horrible. And he would tell them, like, if you tell your mom or your sisters,
they're gonna get it worse.
Yeah, they're also gonna get hurt. So, Chalmer hated Billy. Like, he always picked on him. Billy just never did anything right, according to him. He just didn't like Billy. Mm-hmm. And there was this barn that Chalmers' father owned. And a lot of bad things happened to Billy in that barn. One day, the kids were outside playing, and, like, you know, some of Billy's friends and stuff, and they heard, like, crying and screaming coming from the barn. And after a little while, like, once, like, they built up the nerve, they decided to walk over there and, like, see what the hell was going on.
Right.
So they went over there, and they actually saw Billy, and he had been crying. He had his hands tied behind his back, and his shirt was unbuttoned. He came out of the barn, and he just looked super upset. He, like, grabbed his shirt and, like, smacked the ground with it, basically, and, like, he was just, like, pissed, and he walked off. And Chalmer was the only one that was there with him that day, at that time. So later on, we find out that Billy talked about being raped 3 or 4 times. One time, Chalmer forced him to, like, dig a grave and lay in it. And then he had put, like, a metal pipe over his face that had, like, an opening. He filled the grave in, basically so Billy felt how it would feel like to, like, be buried alive. And then Chalmer urinated down the opening of the pipe onto Billy's face as, like, just to torture him.
What the fuck,
yeah,
bro?
Fucking sick.
What the
God.
fuck?
And then, I just hate this guy so much. And Chalmer denies, like, any of the abuse. He is, like, recorded on camera saying that if any of that stuff were actually true and had actually happened, it would have came out long ago.
What the how does that make any
fucking
sense?
Idiot. Yeah. All your kids are just lying about you being an abusive fucking asshole.
Yeah.
Anyways. So just horrible things, and I can just imagine everything else that, you know, wasn't talked about or covered, and, like, it's fucking crazy. So when Billy was 14 and 15, he just was, like, fed up, and he actually planned to kill Chalmer. He told his sister that he was planning on stabbing him in his sleep.
In the face.
And the next morning, like, once they woke up and his sister saw that Chalmer was still alive, she was like, what the fuck, Billy? Like,
they're gonna kill him.
Yeah, like, I thought, what happened? And, like, I thought, like, what's going on? And he was like, when he was like, what are you talking about? And she told him, like, you had this whole plan. Like, you were going to kill Chalmer. You told me that you were going to kill him. And he was like, what? I never said that. I would never do that.
Right.
So and she was like, what are you talking about? Like, you literally had the knife under your pillow ready to go. Like, how do you not remember that?
Right.
You said that. When he was, like, 14 or 15, they were having dinner, and this argument ensued between Billy and Chalmer, I think, and they started yelling and just going back and forth, and Chalmer ended up reaching across the table, grabbing Billy by, like, the collar of his shirt, dragging him across the table, and throwing him across the room against a wall. And he started choking him. He started strangling him.
So they're gonna kill him.
Yeah. And Jim which was his older brother, he got up, he grabbed Chalmer, slammed him against the fridge, grabbed one of the knives that was, like, on the countertop, and basically, like, threatened him with the knife. Yeah. And he, like, walked him all the way to the door, kicked him out, and was like, if you ever fucking come back, I'm gonna fucking kill you. So that was basically, like, the last time that they ever saw Chalmer, and you know, that relationship between him and his mom ended. Later on in life, as Billy got older, he started getting into drugs and alcohol, In 1972, he was arrested for allegedly kidnapping and for an alleged rape and kidnapping. And Billy denies that there was any rape. Apparently, him and his friend were driving. They had gotten alcohol, and they met up and picked up these two girls, which, they were hanging out with. Of course, there was, drinking involved, and some shit probably went down. And he said that, they had sex, but it was an alleged rape, so he was arrested for that. He would rob people for money, for drugs, money for alcohol, money for rent. In 1975, he actually robbed a drugstore and the register. He was 20 years old, and that's when he served 2 years in a correctional institution.
Damn.
And they did have records then that he was mentally ill. They had written down that they felt like he maybe suffered from schizophrenia.
While in jail, right?
Yeah, while he was in this correctional institution. But they never, he never received any sort of help, any treatment or anything. They just he was just there just like any other inmate.
Yeah.
At 23 years old is when the campus rape charges were presented, and that's when he was arrested for that. So now we are back to the present.
Mm-hmm.
So we also meet this other altar.
It's literally so dark in here.
That's what I'm telling you. Guys, it's getting darker and darker. Should we fix it? Should we put the ring camera? No. I mean the ring light? No. Bro. So there was this other altar that we also meet, and her name was Adelana, something like that.
And what's the altar?
Oh, an altar is one of the personalities.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, she was a lesbian, and she was the one that was...
I like girls who like girls.
She was the one... She was the one who was on the spot, quotes, when the rapes happened of the girls on the college campus.
Oh, what?
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
So basically, they interviewed, or sorry, not interviewed. Why did I say interviewed? They
relax, bro. It's okay.
Evaluated. They evaluated, and they were questioning her when the doctor was talking to Adelana, and basically she was saying, there was a part in there where she's saying how she just wanted to feel love and be loved and feel what it feels like to be held by someone, and how she just felt super lonely. And it's kind of sad. I don't know, it's kind of sad.
I was gonna say that just now. I was like, it's kind of sad.
It's kind of sad watching it, because that this is one of Billy's personalities, and they're talking about how do you know what it feels like to go through life not feeling loved ever, just not feeling that feeling that someone can actually love you and
care for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she also said that, she felt super guilty. She even mentioned at one point that, quote, I ruined the boys' lives, basically talking about the other personalities and just Billy, and just saying that, she just fucked everything up because
she did
this thing, yeah.
Now they're all in jail.
So, after all this, the doctors claimed that he couldn't be tried, that he was just unfit for trial. And Dr. Wilbur, still had the goal that she wanted to work towards fusion, fusing
all the
personalities together for court, obviously. During this time, of course, lots of people believed Billy. Lots of doctors and psychiatrists and psychologists believed that what he was saying was true. But there was also lots of people, on the other side that just were super skeptical. They thought that he was very manipulative and he was just
a con
acting. Man. And, people were mad. They were like, what is going on? Like, this dude is a rapist. He raped 4 girls. Why is he not being held accountable?
Right.
They just wanted, justice. And the trial started on December. During this time, I think it was 1978.
I just want to mention real quick, I don't know if you have it in your notes, but there was a guy, I forgot who it was, but he was like talking about, I think it was earlier in the docuseries, like he talked about like how like the psychiatrist, that one woman, the famous psychiatrist,
Wilbur.
Yeah, Wilbur. She, like, how you have to be like very careful. There's a fine line between like you like reading into what the person's saying and you planting ideas into like his head.
They talked about that a lot in the docuseries.
Yeah, they talked
where
about
it's
that.
kind of like this cycle where you have the patient, right? Mm-hmm. And then you have the psychiatrist, because like I said, Billy didn't know that he was a multiple. Like, he didn't know he had multiple personalities. And you have this doctor, all these doctors basically telling him, like, this is what's happening. You have multiple personality disorder. You have all these personalities, and this is what they're like. And a lot of times they would even, record him and then show him later on and be like, Billy, look, this is this personality and this is what he's like. And
so it's like a lot of that, I just feel like it's like just planting it in his head almost.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, he already acted that way. Like, he already had those personalities before the doctors even told him, like, hey, this is what's going on. This is what you're doing. You know what I mean?
It's true, I guess.
But there is a lot of talk in this docuseries about how, it could be viewed that way, where you kind of persuade them to have more and more personalities and stuff like that. Because,
like, yeah, what I was gonna say was, like, it reminds me of, like, whenever you're looking at, like, Wilbur and Billy, like, talking to each other, it almost looks like an interrogation, like a police interrogation. So, like, there's always like those police,
where she's like telling him things and he's like, oh
yeah. He's like, oh yeah, I understand. I understand what you're saying. So it's like those police interrogations where like they like plant stuff in people's heads and like then they get a confession,
easily like manipulated,
and they get like a confession or whatever, and like he's already broken, like we know
very
that,
fragile mentally,
so he can be easily persuaded, I feel like, or maybe not, but I mean that's why I was mentioning it. But
yeah, they do talk about that.
They talk about that in the documentary.
So so the judge found Milligan not guilty for reasons of insanity. And, of course, this just created a huge thing. Prosecutors were disappointed. A lot of people were mad. They were like, what about the victims? Like, there's no justice. Like, what the fuck? A lot of people thought, like you said, he was a con man and he was just, manipulating all these people and everyone, like, the attorneys, the judge, and like this guy is just a really good liar and actor.
Charles Manson out here.
Yeah. So of course, some women were pissed. They were scared. They were like, okay, this rapist just gets off the hook, and like, what the fuck? Like, he's obviously dangerous. Like, he should not be out. So after the trial, he was turned over to psychiatric care. Which then, after that, more personalities came forward, and the total now being 24 personalities. So he was staying at Athens Mental Health Facility, where he was being evaluated and treated by this doctor named Dr. Call. And he wanted to restore Billy back to like a reality sense and eventually like integrate him back into society and like have him become a regular member of the community, you know?
Okay.
And half of the staff there at the Athens mental health facility, they believed him and believed his diagnosis, but half of the staff didn't. Like they still didn't think that this, you know, diagnosis was like a real thing. Mm-hmm. It's crazy to think about because, you know, now we know that this is actually a real thing.
Disorder.
But back then, like, it was just so mind-blowing to them. They couldn't wrap their mind about like how this is even possible. Like,
yeah. And
it just seemed like it was like anyone could make this up. Anyone could, you know, say, oh, I'm someone else today. Mm-hmm. Or, you know, just depends on how creative they are, how far their imagination can go. But at the same time, when you think about Billy being super consistent with all his personalities and stuff, it's just like, there's no way a person could do that unless you're some super
smart.
Just
because 24 personalities, that's a lot.
Yeah,
I feel like
and to
even
be consistent with all of their stories and how they act.
Yeah, because like I don't know, like could you even do like 7? I think is like
I couldn't. And he would like they would ask him like, what does this person look like? And he even painted them at one point and like,
oh damn, yeah. So
it's like I wouldn't be able to do that. I don't think any regular person would just be able to fool people like that. So some of them there at the mental health facility said that Billy wasn't an easy person to deal with. They said that a lot of times if he didn't get something done his way, he would kind of like throw a fit and just be super upset.
Yeah.
Later on down the line, there was this author. His name was Daniel Keyes. And he was asked to write a book on Billy Milligan's life, basically his life story, because they just thought that this was such a like interesting case basically. And about 6 weeks into writing the book, the author Daniel said that he was kind of getting ready to like give up because he said it was really hard, you know, sitting with someone who has all of these like gaps in their memory, right? Because
they just can't remember what they're doing.
Yeah, a personality might not have been there for this specific time, and it's like hard to piece everything together. And like he just said it was just so like it was kind of like frustrating. Like it was hard to follow the story and like
piece everything together.
He said that, you know, once he felt like he was like getting ready to give up, basically, that Billy fused into this altar called the Teacher. Mm-hmm. So, the Teacher. Daniel Keyes said that the Teacher was the most articulate, like intelligent person that he had ever met. And a lot of people do describe this altar as that exactly, just very brilliant in the way that he was like talking and like knew everything about all these other altars like within him basically. But then Dr. Call's motives like were beginning to be criticized because he obviously was promised like a part in the book, right? He was going to be in Billy's life story because he was his doctor. And people think that the fact that that had like a play in it might shape what he does as a doctor with Billy, or you know how he reports his findings, or even like the interactions that he has with Billy.
Okay.
Dr. Call was paid $3,000 as a consultant on the book. He also got permission from Ohio Parole Authority to allow Billy to go out of state to New York to appear on TV and even possibly go to Hollywood for a movie that might be made on him. So this is why people were kind of like, so is this doctor, like, is he actually trying to treat him or is he just trying to like
make some money?
Yeah, like be famous, you know what I mean? So his treatment team, Billy's treatment team, felt that his condition was actually improving and that he had actually, they no longer considered him as dangerous.
Yeah.
So then he was allowed more freedom and he was able to go out and kind of come and go while still like receiving treatment at this, mental health facility. And this is when he started like really getting into his painting. He was really good at art. Like, did you see like his art pieces that they showed?
It's pretty wild
on the episodes. Yeah, he was really talented. So he started selling those paintings, and he would sell them for like thousands of dollars. And so he started, making decent money. He ended up buying a car while he was still at this hospital, basically. And they gave him access to it. Yeah, they gave him access to it. Like, he would be able to come and go and like drive his car. And a lot of the doctors there were just kind of like, I don't know, they just felt like he had more privileges than any other patient there, and they felt like they were treating him like differently because it was this huge thing. He was Billy Milligan.
Right.
So once, he had this freedom and stuff, there were a number of incidents that like got Billy into problems. One being that he provided drugs and alcohol to like a few of the young ladies there at the hospital. So like a few of the other patients, and he like went off to one of their orchards that they had there on the property, and he like was drinking, and apparently he was like having sex with these patients that were also patients there. And a little after that, the alleged rapes of 2 patients was like brought up, and Billy had been seen with them like earlier that day by a security guard. So instantly, automatically, he was the suspect for this. And because of this, and because of state representatives, I think, they just felt like it wasn't fair that Billy had all this freedom. Like, it just didn't seem right to them. They felt like he should be somewhere where he was monitored 24/7 and locked down, and
Right, he's still a rapist.
Yeah, so they ended up moving Billy from Athens to Lima in the middle of the night abruptly one day. Guys, it's so fucking dark in here. I'm sorry. It looks so dark in here. It's giving me like spooky vibes. It's so dark outside.
Okay.
Anyways,
continue.
Okay. Oh, he was moved by court order. Like I said, they just felt that he had too much freedom. He was put in a maximum security unit, and Lima was this horrible facility where basically, I don't know if you remember like hearing them talk about it in the docuseries, but basically like no one went to Lima to get treated. It was, it was a horrible place. They took patients there and they just treated them like as any other inmate, basically. They got no help, and this was obviously not what Billy needed. Like, people wanted him to get better. So he was taken off of like the medications that he was on, and he was prescribed new ones by this new doctor that worked there at Lima. He was Dr. Lindner, and he didn't believe in the diagnosis of DID. So he was like, I'm not taking any sort of whatever you're like talking about, dude. Like, you're gonna take these medications that I'm prescribing for you because this is what I think you have, so you're gonna take these. And he just didn't take any, like, he didn't want to take any shit from Billy or like listen to anything that he had to say. He thought it was all nonsense. So he treated him with drugs for schizophrenia, which is not what he has. And this medication was actually making him fracture more, which means that, like, he was switching a lot more, like, switching personalities, and he just was losing, like, track of time, basically, because he didn't know what the hell was going on.
Yeah.
It was just not helping him at all. And later on, in 1981, the book finally came out, and Billy was moved back to Athens, back to Dr. Call. And that's when Billy met Tanda Bartley. So Tanda Bartley was, the way that he met her was because he was a, like, friend of his, which was also a patient there.
Okay.
His name was Don Bartley, and Tanda was Don's sister. So when she would, like, come in and, like, visit Don, Billy met her.
Right.
And so they started talking, and they liked each other, and eventually they ended up getting married.
Wow.
And unfortunately, though, shortly after, she felt like that was probably a mistake, and she ended up leaving him.
Oh my gosh.
So once again, Billy went back to having the freedom to come and go from the hospital and still get treatment. And he decided to rent a farm. Okay. So he got cattle, and he spent lots of time there. He wanted to, like, you know, just have his alone time and spend time alone away from, instead of having all these people around him like he had most of his life.
Right.
He did a lot more painting, and he actually started using that money to start a foundation for battered children. The sheriff in Athens he just did not like Billy. He wanted Billy behind bars. He didn't like the fact that Billy was just roaming around in his county. He just had a problem with him. And one time the sheriff said that he'd have no problem hiring 2 guys to go out and kill Billy.
Oh my God.
Yeah, he was a piece of work, that guy. So later on, Milligan was actually jailed on 4 charges after suspected in shooting. So there was this, so basically, supposedly, Billy was in this car with one of the people that worked in the hospital staff. I'm guessing they were, like, also friends, I guess. And they were driving down, and the hospital staffer took out a gun and started shooting at a supervisor's barn. So, like, his supervisor's barn. And supposedly, you know, Billy was in the car with him, and they thought that maybe Billy had also, like, shot and whatever. So he got arrested for that. And Billy denied being in the car. He said that he wasn't even with him that day, that he was, like, in town, and he was doing all these other things. So Billy was charged with perjury, vandalism, and intimidation of a witness. Billy asked the court to let him be his own attorney for some reason. It's just what he wanted to do. And at some point, they asked Sheriff Allen, the guy that hated him, to come in and testify against Billy. And of course he was like, hell yeah, like, of course I'm going to do that.
And the court let him be his own attorney?
Yeah. Like, he asked them to, and they were like, okay.
What the Yo.
Yeah. So,
okay.
I mean, the other, one of the other lawyers, like, he actually said that, like, Billy could have been, like, a good lawyer. Like, he was very persuasive. So, I mean, I don't know. So, of course, Sheriff Allen went up on stand, and he played a recording where he was having a conversation with Billy about something, I don't know, and he recorded Billy saying that he'd kill him and that he would, like, come after his family to the sheriff. So obviously that doesn't look great, but the charges against Milligan were actually dismissed because the prosecution failed to present, like, any evidence that Billy was actually there at the time of the shooting. And the sheriff's recorded conversation actually was illegal because Billy didn't know that he was being recorded. So
they couldn't use it in court?
Yeah, so all that was just dismissed.
Dang, okay.
Later on, Billy was then moved to Columbus to the Timothy Moritz Center. And at this point, he'd been in the psychiatric system for 5 to 6 years. And he hadn't really gotten, like, the significant help that he really needed. He became depressed. He just felt like he was just going back and forth to hospitals all the time. He started switching more. And in this specific mental health center, he was under the care of Dr. Lindner, again, the guy that didn't believe in his diagnosis and gave him the wrong fucking medications.
Bro.
And Billy just didn't like him. Like, they just didn't get along. Lindner actually wanted to perform shock therapy on Billy, which Billy was like, fuck no, I don't want to do that. That's scary. He was putting him again on medications, or he wanted to put him again on medications that, you know, just weren't going to work for him, and Billy knew that. So when all this was happening, Billy ended up escaping from the hospital, and that's when he ran away. And the search began for him all over the state. The FBI got involved. He claimed that he left the hospital as self-defense and that he wasn't a danger to himself or anyone else. And this was 1986, so it was around like 4th of July weekend. There was less staff at the hospital, so I'm assuming, you know, and he was like able to I think he was able to come and go at this hospital. Okay. So like he just ended up leaving, and he was just like, I don't want to go back. And one of Billy's friends, his name was Jim, also like his brother, but we're going to call him Murray because that was his last name. Okay. So one of his friends, Murray, he actually drove him out to Colorado, helped him like escape basically, and he left him in Aspen, and he left him his car, so that way he had like transportation, you know? Okay. And then he left him, and he ended up like flying back. And on July 16th, 1986, Billy called Jim, his older brother, and flew to Seattle to meet his brother there. And then him and his brother, you know, met up, and they, you know, started talking, and Billy basically told Jim, like, I don't have a plan. Like, I just basically left because I just can't stand what's going on there. Like, I don't want to be there. I feel like I'm not safe there. And like, I don't want to go back, but I don't know what to do. And obviously Jim, as his older brother, was like, well, I want to try to help you. Right. So Jim drove him to Bellingham because he thought that Bellingham would feel kind of like home to Billy. It was a city that was kind of like what he was like used to back at home. And he ended up really liking it there, and he rented an apartment there. So, Murray, his friend, had actually helped Billy, like, get a new name and social security number. Damn, so his new name was Christopher Carr. So he had this new name. He had gone to get an ID with his new name, and, you know, he rented this apartment. Like, he was...
Man's out here.
Yeah, like, he was doing his thing. Jim kind of wanted him to, like, you know, do, like, normal things and kind of have like some like fun in his life, you know. Mm-hmm. So he decided to fly him back to Canada where Jim lived, and he bought him some like canvases and some paint, and he did like a lot of artwork. And Billy wanted to go flying, so Jim took him flying. They like got this like those little jets or whatever that you can fly on your own.
Is he like a pilot or something?
Jim?
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't mention that in the thing, but okay. He said that they got in the airplane, so maybe he has something to do with that. I don't know. Mm-hmm. And that he took him flying up in the mountains, and he was basically just like showing him all this like new stuff. Right. And after a little bit, Jim started getting kind of nervous. He felt like Billy was starting to like not be himself. And he started getting nervous because he's like, obviously, like, Billy, I can't take care of him, like, on my own, you know? Like, he thought that, like, okay, maybe I can help him and, like, help him, you know, feel a sense of a normal life and stuff. But I mean, he's not a doctor. Billy doesn't have the medications he needs with him. Like, you know, the shit can go bad really quick. So he felt like Billy needed help, and he felt like Billy was coming apart. And on October 31st, Murray had called.
That's Halloween.
Yeah. Murray, Billy's friend, had called Billy and basically had asked him, like, hey, man, like, how are you doing? Like, how are you feeling? Because Jim had talked to Murray and had told him, like, bro, like, Billy's not doing so great, you know? Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to help him. Because obviously he didn't want to go back. And so Murray asked him, like, hey, like, are you losing track of time? And Billy was like, oh, just a little, which basically meant, like, a lot, probably. So he told him that he was losing time. He later on mentioned to Jim that there was a guy in his apartment complex that had gone missing. And that there was police, like, all around their complex at all times, and that he just didn't feel safe there because there was police all the time, and that, you know, he felt like maybe he might get caught or something. He's like, I need to move out of here right now. So he moved out of there, and he started living in a house with some people that I guess he met. And he started working with these two guys, and supposedly they decided to start a business selling hot tubs. And when Jim was on the phone with him, like, talking to Billy was, like, telling him, like, no, yeah, like, we're gonna start this business, and, like, I'm the marketing manager, and, like, saying all this stuff. And Jim's just like, what are you talking about? Like, there's no way you're starting a business. How are you gonna be the marketing manager? Like, this doesn't sound legit at all. And so Jim was like, okay, this is enough. Like, I need to do something. So he decided to call Dr. Call.
Call Dr. Call.
Call Dr. Call and ask him for advice. And Dr. Call referred him to Dr. Allison, which was a psychiatrist in California who, like, specialized in treating DID. So Jim called Allison and was like, hey, are you able to meet with my brother Billy? Like, I need your help.
Yeah.
And Dr. Allison agreed. He was like, yeah, if he comes over to me, I'd gladly, like, meet with him. So Jim told Billy, and Billy ended up driving to California, to Sacramento. And when he got there to the address that he had given him, he realized that Dr. Allison was, like, inside a prison. Like, it was like the address led him to a prison. And, you know, I'm assuming he was a doctor or a psychiatrist there. But obviously Billy didn't want to go inside a prison. So he's like, fuck that. I'm not going there. And he even thought that Jim had, like, set him up. He thought that...
Put him in jail?
Yeah, he thought that they had led him there to the prison to, like, you know, put him in jail. And well, Billy was like, okay, there's no way I'm stepping foot in there. He left, and he ended up heading to Florida.
Okay. The Sunshine State.
Yes, the Sunshine State. So Jim, his brother, was like, oh my God, like, I can't help this guy. So he ended up calling the FBI and telling them that Billy was in Florida. Yeah. He was like, hey, Billy told me that, you know, he's in Florida. He's staying with our Aunt Jo. And, like, he told him exactly, you know, where he was going to be.
Damn. And
so the FBI headed there in Miami. They arrested Billy at a hotel bar. And that's when the whole story of Michael Pierce Madden, which was the missing person that had gone missing at Billy's apartment complex, was like, they were like tying shit together now. So Billy became a suspect because there was a lot of things that tied him to this Madden person. The landlord there said that she had seen them both outside of his apartment and they were arguing about something. And that was the last time that anyone had ever seen Madden.
Okay.
They found Madden's checkbook, bank statements, and like other personal items in Billy's apartment. When Madden first went missing, and the police was over there, you know how he said like, hey, there's hella police here, I gotta move out of here. One of the officers actually tried to talk to Billy and like ask him questions, and he was like, oh, sorry, I can't talk right now, like I'm going on a 3-week trip, like I gotta get out of here, I don't have time for this, sorry. So he basically like was like dodging the police. And Madden was receiving checks for disability from the armed services, and the police found out that these checks were being put into a joint account that Billy had opened up, like with him and Madden. And they assumed that the argument was probably about the checks. They assumed that Madden probably found out that Billy was, stealing these checks from him and stealing his money, basically, and some shit happened. 3 days after Madden was last seen, Billy cashed Madden's September check. So, like, he was doing all this incriminating stuff. He even, like, sold Madden's car for money. Like, he was So, at this point, like, Jim even mentions his older brother. He's like, for people that think that, this guy is this insane con man, you really think that if he was that and he was lying about DID and stuff, that he would make these stupid little mistakes and get caught, or possibly get caught for this man going missing? Like, those are pretty stupid things to do. You're gonna cash a check that's like under his name 3 days after he goes missing. You're gonna sell his car. You have all the shit of his in your apartment. They even found at one point, like, in this box that Billy had in his apartment, some glasses, and one of the lenses or both the lenses were popped out, and the lenses had like spots of blood on them, and they looked to be like the glasses that Madden would wear.
Damn.
But back in the day, they didn't really have like the ability to really look at DNA and stuff like that, so they were never able to really match the DNA. They just thought, okay, maybe this could be his, but they had no body. They really didn't have any evidence to really pin it against Billy. Or pin it on Billy. Jim even said that Billy had gone to a party that weekend that Madden went missing, and that it was someplace like down by a lake, and that he wasn't able to like get in contact with him like the whole weekend. Like, he would call him and Billy just didn't answer that whole weekend. Didn't tell him where exactly he was, like what he was doing, nothing. So even his brother and Kathy, Billy's sister, like, they both think that it is a possibility that Billy might have actually killed Madden. Damn. So all of that happened in the span of 4 months. So once Billy escaped, 4 months later, he was arrested, and they incarcerated him at Timothy Moritz Forensic Center, back to Columbus, Ohio. And they placed him under the care again of Dr. Lindner. And Billy was just pissed. He didn't want to be there. He went on a hunger strike, and he just said that he was not going to eat. And he actually went 34 days without eating.
Oh my God.
And when he was like basically so close to fucking dying, he was like, okay, I'm going to end this now. The hospital later on brought in Dr. Porter, which was a psychiatrist that talked to him very early on. And she got his attorneys to petition to have him like released from the forensic center to continue like treatment as an outpatient, on an outpatient basis. And the judge was like, okay, well, we need him to be evaluated by another doctor. So he was evaluated by Dr. Chu for a week just to get like an outside perspective, and then he he actually ended up agreeing that he should be released, like he could be released.
Yeah.
So Billy was released, and then later on in 1990, Tracy, Billy's girlfriend, then girlfriend, they had like started having problems, and apparently Billy had threatened her, saying that he was going to kill her.
Yeah.
And she called her brother, like being super scared, saying, you know, Billy just threatened me, saying he was going to kill me. Can you come, like, stay the night here with me? Like, I'm just, like, freaking out. So her brother had actually ended up going over there, and once he was there, Billy called her, and she answered the phone. And he basically said, I know your brother's there. Like, can I speak to him? And when she gave him the phone, Billy told her brother, you realize, this is quote, I guess what he said, you realize at any point I can go over there and kill all of you, and there's nothing they can do about it because I'm mentally ill.
Oh, damn.
So,
I would have been like, all right, then come try it then, bro. Mother sucker. Damn. So like he like kind of knows then, like
yeah,
he can get away with stuff.
I think certain things that he's said like that, like
contradict what?
Yeah, him saying that he can get away with things, I feel like does put him in this like negative light where he does seem like how people, you know, say that he's like this manipulative con man and stuff, but at the same time, like I think maybe this is one of his personalities that's just like
manipulative.
Yeah, manipulative and evil, and like obviously he knew at this point that he had multiple personality disorder, and you know, maybe that wasn't actually, you know, the actual Billy talking, but you know, the evil personality just saying shit like that.
I mean, just saying facts, honestly.
Yeah. Apparently he also told Tracy that he had killed Madden, the guy that went missing, and he also told her that he had killed a black man in Logan, Ohio. And that guy's name was Dwan Cox, and he was missing. He was reported missing. Nobody had like found him, but Billy said that he did know who Dwan was. And he said that they had hung out once, they had smoked weed and just were like hanging out, but that he didn't know anything else other than that.
Okay.
People think that, you know, he was just a master manipulator, a sociopath. He didn't have any feelings or care about anyone else. James Cameron later on, he wanted to make a movie on Billy's life, and Billy was brought out to LA, and like he was basically like just living like he was like put up in hotels, like really nice hotels with swimming pools. He ate at like fancy restaurants. He was, you know, basically like living the like Hollywood lifestyle. There was girls, there was drugs, there was alcohol. He even met like a bunch of famous people and celebrities. Yeah. And eventually the movie actually didn't end up being made because James Cameron was sued because of all this stuff that basically Billy had given the rights to his life story to like so many different people like throughout the years, people that wanted to write books on him and like all this stuff. And there was this lady who said that she owned the rights to Billy's life story, and so she ended up suing James Cameron, and like the movie was never made.
Damn. James Cameron? Isn't that the guy that directed like Avatar? Or no?
I have no idea.
I think it is, bro. Maybe that movie would have been dope as fuck.
Yeah, probably. Who knows? So the book royalties, like all the money that he made from like, you know, the book that they made like earlier on, they actually took that money and it was paid to the state of Ohio, because Ohio was billing him for all the days that he stayed in mental health facilities. Like, they were charging him and like hella money basically. And Billy didn't have money, so he declared bankruptcy, and then that money from his book ended up, going directly to the state of Ohio. At some point, Billy moved to Vegas later on, and he actually was like, he started gambling, and he won like thousands of dollars. Like, he was making a lot of money. And he was actually arrested there a couple more times for like misdemeanors and stuff like that. And then later on, he moved back to Ohio, and his sister bought him like a little mobile home where he lived like a quiet life, and he just, continued painting. And in 2012, he was diagnosed with cancer. He was still drinking heavily, and he, started not really being able to take care of himself. So his niece became like his caretaker basically, and they spent a lot of time together. And towards the end of his life, she shared a conversation that Billy had with her where he asked her, "Do you think that God could forgive me?" And she was like, "Well,
No.
God forgives everyone. Like, I do think that." And he was like, even if I've killed people, like, I don't know if God would forgive me for that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah. So, I'm pretty sure he's killed people.
Well, yes.
Like, I'm pretty sure.
He admitted to killing
But
that Madden guy.
But he was never like charged for anything because it was never like proven, And then December 12, 2014, Billy died of cancer in Columbus, Ohio.
2014.
That was the end of his life.
So how old was he?
I don't know exactly. He was pretty old, probably like
70s, 60s?
Yeah, like 70s.
So he lived like a life.
He lived, yeah. It was
He lived
a lot.
all the lives.
Dude.
He lived all the lives. Dude,
So
that's
yeah,
so crazy.
that's Billy Milligan's life story, basically.
Damn.
It's sad. I just can't even imagine living a life like that.
Yeah.
Like, I kind of feel bad for him in a way, but at the same time, like, it feels sad knowing that he never really, like, got treated or got, like, the help that I feel like he needed.
Mm-hmm. So you think,
and I also don't feel bad because I do feel like he did a lot of bad things, and
right.
But and then there's still people that believe that he was just lying about the whole thing, and he was just a horrible person, and like.
That's what I was gonna ask you. So you believe that
I do think that he
sick.
did have DID.
Okay.
What about you?
I think, yeah, at the beginning it was kind of like I don't know, just all like the stuff that they're talking about, like how they couldn't believe all the like 24 personalities, and just like all these people that were a skeptic, and then they got to meet him, and they're like, okay, this guy is like for real. Like, there's something wrong. Like, it's not okay. Like, I think it's like convinced me that, he was,
He did have it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, just him being super consistent with everything that he was saying is why I was like, okay, there's no way anyone could like fake that. It's just impossible. It'd be way too much work.
Yeah, that's a crazy ass story though.
But yeah, so that's that case, guys. It is super dark outside now. Sorry about the lighting. It looks insane. But yeah. Anyways, thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.
Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed that one. Melissa carried this episode, so
hit the like button for me.
Hit the like button, comment down below.
Hashtag Melissa.
Any other true crime cases you guys want us to cover, we can definitely cover those as well. But
yeah, let us know.
Next week I'll have a new creepy episode on that fourth.
Next week.
Or
next month.
Yeah, next month. Join us for that one. But we'll be back next week.
See you guys next week.
See y'all.
Bye.
Peace.